What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be doing day 2, that's rounds 2 and 3 of this 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Go check out round 1. We're still going to be doing a quick little recap, but it might help you out being able to understand everything in the timely manner that it was done in. And it's a live mock draft, so you guys get to sit back and enjoy and watch the thought process come out live. But let's get into this. Let's have a great time. Use that link tree to be able to go anywhere you want, including X, where I've been doing a lot of all 22 clips of the guys who have been updating. Yes, the board below my face is being continually updated, so you guys get to be able to see that evolve, as well as my opinion on these mock drafts. So it'd be super exciting for that, of course. If you like to be able to have a little extra skin in the game, have a little bit of side cash that you want to potentially even grow, or can lose. Make sure you can lose it first, though, because your boy here sucks when it comes to sports betting. But you guys can use that top link in the link tree to be able to get up to $1,000 for free with UnderDog Fantasy. And it's actually illegal in a lot more states than normal sports books. So check out the legalities. In Texas, I'm able to use a DFS, which is super awesome. But yeah, that's just for me. They sent me $60, so full transparency there. At the same time, I also use them. So I mean, I don't promote brands I don't believe in. So let's get on with this. We'll only discuss the trades here. We had New England trade with the Saints so that they could essentially choose who they get to have, as well as the Panthers. And someone said this beautifully in the comment section. They were basically saying, well, do you want to have to deal with Derek Brown and Abdul Carter, or Derek Brown and Mason Graham and whoever they get in the second round, a la Kyle Kennard, Mike Green, etc. And I honestly felt so much more comfortable with my decision here with Mason Graham with the move up with the Saints, solely because the drop-off is just so much more. And the potency of Mason Graham and Derek Brown would just be more, in my opinion. And I love Abdul. He's higher on my board than Mason Graham. But again, we're talking about, for both these guys are fantastic players. I'm not going to shit on either one of them. They both deserve their flowers. They're both excellent players. But, Mason Graham, I think, comparatively to the rest of the defensive interior class, is a noticeable step ahead. Whereas Abdul Carter, as amazing as he is, we're actually very lucky in this class to have a lot of very talented edge rushers that still might be there for them in the second round. So I ended up allowing the Saints to choose the path that is the lesser of two evils for them for the next probably decade. And they ended up getting Mason Graham, so that was pretty fun there. So allowing the Patriots to trade back and, of course, land Josh Simmons. Continuing on, we have the Dallas Cowboys that traded back multiple times, but may I add, with the Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams ended up getting their true left tackle, because I think I would have selected Ursary over Cam Williams for the Niners, leaving the Rams with no true left tackle at their pick. I did have the Seahawks trade up with Indianapolis to be able to snag that last offensive lineman there as well, because I did feel like this was a prime opportunity to be able to land a quality interior offensive lineman, Will Campbell, who has that tackle flexibility when you end up dealing with some injuries, because Abe Lucas historically has done that. For those of you guys who were asking, this is a Matt Judon jersey. Dick's Sporting Goods literally had it for like $20, and I was like, I love being able to have, like, I love sniping good deals. Call me a cheap ass. I'm more so like a deal sniper. But I was like, Judon, first off, the Patriots, I used to hate them to death because, first off, I'm a Steelers fan. So, you guys kind of ruined my entire adolescence and childhood by being able to dominate us with Tom Brady. But now it's kind of more of a classy thing. And I love Matt Judon and the Patriots. Honestly, his legacy should be going back there. But I digress. It's just, I thought the opportunity was worth it. I mean, $20 for a legitimate NFL jersey, and one that is classy, in my opinion. I'll take it all day. And then you guys know I love being able to make deals with the Patriots. They'll have a couple more picks in today's episode, so I thought that would be a nice meeting of the minds. But continuing on, we had this was actually the Cowboys who traded back a second time so that the Ravens can move up and get a superstar, either as a linebacker or as an edge rusher. I had him as an edge rusher in this, but I mean, with the way Trenton Simpson hasn't fully developed, I could see him even taking some reps at linebacker as well, and Jalen Walker. I also had Atlanta trading back, and Tyler Warren was moved up for by the Eagles. I think the Eagles are in a really bad spot. You can't really upgrade the offense outside of the tight end spot, because Dallas Goedert just is historically not really healthy for an entire season. And I mean, he's 29 years old. Like you do need to go after another tight end. And Tyler Warren is literally an ideal tight end for this offense. A great blocker, a great receiver, just an all-around elite player that I know Kellen Moore, he would absolutely love Tyler Warren. But I think that edge rusher is maybe more of a paramount issue, but when you look at the class, I think you can address that far better, especially with Vic Fangio being able to see some of these guys who have that talent that maybe some other coordinators and head coaches can't see. You guys could probably do a lot better sniping that rather than going after and trying to get a value tight end, when I think Tyler Warren would help out both the run and the pass game noticeably more maybe than even any of the edge rushers would here in the first. Of course, by that trade back with Indianapolis and Seattle, they end up getting Colson Loveland. Continuing on, by that double trade back, the Cowboys still got Walter Nolan, which I really do like. I'm going to do my best to remember that I did that because I always go defense interior for the Cowboys round 2, but that not in a trades mock draft. Then we had Minnesota trade out because they were pretty damn capped on picks. And we have the guy who grew up, I think, 40 miles away from Cleveland and apparently grew up as a Cleveland Browns fan, Drew Aller. I'm going to get the pronunciation right. I watch the games. It just, your mind just says Aller, but or Alar, but it's Aller. I know it's Aller. You guys know I know it's Aller, but pronunciations are not my specialty. Go to Bengal for that. But regardless, the Browns are going to be in a key position right now. Jameis Winston might not want to come back based on, first off, I don't know if the Browns can even afford that. The amount of money that Jameis could make in this offseason, he might get like a 4-year, I think it would be probably a 2 or a 3, but minimum 20 to 25 a year. Like, that's minimum. He probably can make up to 30. He might get like a 260. But regardless of that, you guys don't have that type of funding. I want Jameis to return, but it just doesn't seem feasible cap-wise. And Drew Aller, I did get it right. I almost was like, nope. I'm double guessing myself even when I get it right. Drew Aller is someone who needs an extra year of development, and I like him, but it's a big asterisk because I think he'd be QB9 or QB10 in last year's draft. So it's just like, you have to look at what's available, and I think Drew Aller is someone who I have a very positive opinion on going forward. Just the current product he is right now, I think it is a little bit more debatable. So, I mean, I don't know exactly where Drew Aller would be. Maybe it would be QB7, maybe it would be QB8. But at the same time, I do have my questions with this entire QB class, and being able to get this value for Drew Aller compared to what's at 2 and 3, I will admit is a lot better of a deal. And so at number 29, you got Mykel Williams via that trade back, Philadelphia and Atlanta, which pretty much would have been the pick I would have made right there. And then Detroit trading out and getting Jalen Milroe from the Jets, actually ended up just reacquiring their pick. Like, that 3rd round pick ended up going to the Jets. The Jets ended up returning it and getting that 5th-year contract on a player that I don't think deserves to be in the 1st round. I love Jalen Milroe as a player, but when we're talking about him as an NFL quarterback, I think there are major deficiencies to his game, primarily it's as a passer, but I think that this is a prime location for him to grow and develop because a number 32 overall pick is not necessarily looked at as someone who is desperate to start right away, and everybody knows that you're taking him for that 5th-year contract. It's kind of very similar to, basically saying this is going to be a 2nd round, this is going to be a developmental pick, but we're doing it for the sole reason of getting that 5th-year contract. So I think you have a little bit more leeway, a little bit longer of a leash with Jalen Milroe. But let's get into this. Too much time breaking down the 1st round. That's why I did a whole entire video on it. And we have a lot of picks to get through. Start out with the number 33 overall pick for the Jaguars. You guys did a beautiful job checking me, which is why I love you guys to death. I always say be a dick, just don't be a dick about it. Like, I totally slipped through remembering that Walker Little just got paid. And I always go left tackle for you guys. So thank you guys again for doing that. Like, it really does help a lot. And, it's greatly appreciated. But I do think that wide receiver is not a position that we can ignore, right? Christian Kirk was on the trade block before he got hurt. And I think that certainly could still rear its head up. Even in this type of, in this draft scenario, you could try to use Christian Kirk. I'm trying to remember if he's up for a contract. If he is not, he actually might be. If he is not, then you could use him as trade bait. It's slipping my mind at the moment. Regardless, if he is gone, which most likely he will be, I think that Emeka Egbuka complements Brian Thomas unbelievably well. And, as long as Emeka can stay healthy, this dude is he's just very underrated. Smooth mover. He's not underrated. he's going to be an underrated impact or underrated fit for the Jaguars because he's just another smooth mover, very similar to Brian Thomas. Doesn't really have that same top speed, but you don't need that. You have great after the catch ability with Ibuka. You have a bigger frame as well. Not necessarily. I mean, he feels bigger. I keep checking myself mid-video, as you guys can tell. Interior offensive line is something I would easily start looking at here. I'm going to be honest. I fell back in love. Where the fuck? Oh, they put him at the tackle. I forgot about that because he's been playing left tackle recently. Donovan Jackson. I mean, honestly, this dude's so damn good. Would definitely debate him here. Like, I just watched Ty Robinson, and you guys can end up going and looking at that. But safe to say Donovan Jackson won that matchup. But I'm going to go Emeka Ibuka here. Let's go after 2-star players because technically you can also put Travis Hunter for 10 to 15 plays on offense. But I don't think that an embarrassment of riches in the receiving core is going to be necessarily a bad thing. Travis is going to be that corner who ends up moonlighting at receiver. Emeka is going to be that full-time receiver who can also play that role very, very well. For the Las Vegas Raiders at pick number 34, we are having Ben Morrison return in this. Running back certainly could make a lot of sense here. I want to see if there's a way to trade back because you got some real quality. I mean, I really started falling in love with the Jihad Campbell pick. This is a team that definitely has an identity through consistent linebacker play, not necessarily the big names because, I mean, I'm trying to remember, I love Divine Diablo, but I'm trying to remember the other guy. I keep wanting to call him Mutakevich, but I know it's not him, but Robert Spillane. I was thinking of Steelers linebackers, but I mean, you guys have had actually relatively underrated linebacker play for a hot minute. And it's kind of time that you guys get someone who's legitimately good. And Jihad Campbell is literally number 16 overall on Mel Kiper's board. You guys know how much I love linebackers. I haven't gotten to Jihad yet, which I mean, I'll take it on the chin for that. I'm just trying my best to get through the defensive interior class, the depth of it at this point. And I've watched Jihad Campbell on normal tape. I think he easily could be worth this high of a pick. But at the same time, I really like to sit down and get to know a player while watching their coaching tape, which all of my grades are exclusively all 22. So again, keep that in mind. We're going to go Jihad Campbell here because I do think it's fair that there are some teams that could try to see the relative value of Jihad over the other linebackers in this class and might end up really seeing a gap there for it to be worth it to take him over maybe another player. At number 35 for the New York Giants, went quarterback in the first, the huge. And I think this is just that spot, man. I'm going to kind of stick my flag into the ground, so to speak, at this point. I honestly wouldn't be against going after Donovan Jackson and trying to see if you could train him as a tackle, but it's just so risky. It's really risky. I mean, I love Jack Nelson. No clue why he's ranked 211. I'm just going to be so for real. I think he is so much better than that. But if you could kick Jack to right tackle, cool. But I just wouldn't force it. I mean, just get the best player available. And right now, it's between Darian Porter. Did I do any... I didn't do any placeholders. Nice. So it's between Darian Porter, DJ McKinney, and Jermari Harris. And Darian Porter, I think, is going to get a little bit more hype because I haven't seen Jermari Harris commit to the Senior Bowl yet, but a lot of eyes are going to be on him there. And Darian Porter, 6'4", 200 pounds, smooth feet. I mean, you can't really go wrong. There's a ton of corners that are very talented, and I actually need to drop Jalen Everett, or drop Dalen Everett. There we go. English is tough. A couple spots because I did adjust his grade based on the fact he has a lack of ball production, but Darian Porter is a fantastic corner. I don't think that, I know that people brought up the fact that you guys kind of need, or you guys don't really need corner as much as people think you do. But I think that you guys are forgetting how good life could be with a legitimate 6'4" lockdown corner. And it's in the same stadium that Sauce Gardner, well, he's had some struggles this year, but you've seen what Sauce Gardner could bring to the table. Do I think Darian could be on that tier? Maybe not. But he's also so young into his cornerback career and yet so effective. I mean, look at this. Look at the quantity of snaps that he's played. Before this year, under 300. And he's played so few, but he's just done such a good job. Such a good job. And so I'm going to stick my flag in there. I'm going to root for him. At number 36 for the New England Patriots, I can see the Vikings looking at Amari and Hampton and the way that he's been playing and just getting excited. Let's not fuck around and find out. We got a tackle in the first round. We got another couple picks from the Saints as well. Let's just not, again, don't mess around. Don't try to find out the hard way that other teams might like your guy as much as you. Have some chemistry there And again, I already ended up mentioning that T. Higgins was going to be projected to New England Patriots. And people had some things to say, like, oh, he's going to go here, he's going to go here. I think the only other location I think would be super wise, air quotes, for him to go would be for him to go to Tennessee, to go back to Brian Callahan. But regardless of that, we're going to go Amari and Hampton here. Just because, again, you got your receiver, you got your tackle, you get another really high-end option that has chemistry with your quarterback. At number 37 for the Chicago Bears, English, Alex, come on, speak it. We already went Kelvin Banks, and that was a quality tackle or guard hybrid, depending on both Karan Abagaji as well as Kelvin Banks' comfortability at tackle and seeing what proficiency those both have. Now, at this point, a dark horse pick here is Caleb Johnson, in my opinion. I'm just going to put that out there, but I'm not going to do that. I think that you could still try to look at offensive line here. Technically speaking, I mean, you could go Donovan Jackson and just see what the fuck's up, but I just don't think that's going to be the best return on investment for you. Looking at other options here, defensive interior wise, I'm having some of these guys slip. Like, I could totally see this happening. Based on my tape watching, like, I do think there is a little bit of a lack in this defensive interior class compared to what people think, but it's also really good depth, right? CJ West is a very solid defensive interior player. But at the same time, I do think that, we need to have some we need to have some pushback on the fact that people are trying to talk about these guys all as starters. But regardless, at number 37 for the Bears, I'm not going to go Joey Slackman, but PFF doesn't have this guy. And I technically don't have my grade showing for him here, but it is Caleb Banks, defensive interior out of Florida. It worked the last time with Gervin Dexter. Why not go back again? Caleb Banks has the highest ceiling plays that just drop my jaw to the floor. Does it help out with the run game? Not necessarily, but I do think that when you could have an unbelievable dynamic duo pass rushing from the defensive interior, and Caleb Banks should be trained to be a better defensive interior as a run defender. He's 320 pounds, and, that's something that, I definitely think he could reach that tier. His high-level plays are so ridiculous that it's almost impossible to pass on him at 37. So for the Bears, go back to Florida. It's not Joey Slackman. It is Caleb Banks. At number 38 for the Detroit Lions, we ended up trading back, getting that extra third-round pick, which, air quotes, extra. It's literally your third-round pick. We're going to be looking at edge rusher here because a lot of them slipped. Landon Jackson ended up declaring for the NFL draft. He ended up being taken by an ambulance to the hospital in the final game. So I'm hoping that he can actually come back to the Senior Bowl and that he's good. I haven't seen very many updates. If you guys have some updates on that, please drop it in the chat. But, I mean, a lot of really good talents here. And Jack Sawyer, he's a really, really high motor player. Someone I could easily see going above these other players just because of the system fit. And not on top of that, you're talking about a cultural fit. That's what I was looking for. And so I think I will go Jack Sawyer here. I think he's going to go higher than maybe I think is appropriate for him. Maybe higher than the other guys who I think should go above him. But I think Jack Sawyer is just built to be a Detroit Lion. And I think you guys definitely agree with that. I mean, you just look at him and he looks like a Detroit Lion. Like, granted, it's a white dude from the Big Ten who's like a high motor player. But Jack Sawyer's been extremely productive. He has like a heart of gold, man. He's all pissed off at the fact that Michigan's planting a flag in the field. And to be fair, I'd be pissed as hell too if I did not beat Michigan. I don't think he beat Michigan his whole entire time there. But regardless, it's just like, dude, I'd be furious too. And so I respect it. We're going to give him the love he deserves. And number 39 for the Tennessee Titans took a wide receiver in the first with Tetaroa McMillan. And you got Shamar Stewart here. It's kind of hard to say no to someone like him. Princely Umanmiellen's so good. But we do not have a third-round pick. And is there a team that has multiple thirds? I mean, technically, right now, we could talk about the Patriots. Like, I'm not going to trade up with the Patriots right now unless I see something that's, like, really enticing. Granted, Princely Umanmielen, kind of enticing. What did I do for the Bengals in the first? I went Nick Scorton. So, not really a threat there. The Vikings aren't a threat either for edge. Like, I'm not seeing any teams except for the Niners that I think could really use an edge like Princely Umanmielen. Granted, I might want to move up with the Niners at this point because For the Titans, the position I'm probably going to be looking at either is going to be that tackle spot, or, I mean, I really do think that tackle spot needs to at least have someone in there. Like, Donovan Jackson would be the guy who I'd take and just say, like, let's see if it works. Like, Jack Nelson as well. Both those guys are fantastic. Jack Nelson, to be fair, is a better pick. But, I think that you could even look at a team that is looking at a left tackle right now. You could look at the Dolphins, but Greer doesn't value offensive tackle enough. But the the Cowboys, dark horse team for a guy like Donovan Jackson, because, well, you're going to get him and put him at guard, or Tyler Booker for that matter. But you are going to be jumping a couple teams that are looking at interior offensive line, including one in your, technically the Bears too, but including one in your own conference here in the Vikings. They're going to be looking at guard. And so I actually think the Cowboys are going to get aggressive here. They don't trade back, or they don't trade up on day one, but they're going to trade up on day two. So we have all these picks as well. It's literally perfect for the Titans, by the way. And so I think that looking at where there could be a pick gap, is there one in between 120 and 149? There is. I don't know if this would necessarily go through on game. Actually, no, that makes sense. I mean, it technically was, we're thinking back to what the Eagles did last year. I think that's perfectly reasonable. And that way the Cowboys can maintain like quantity of picks. Maybe we toss in like pick 210. Who gives a shit at this point, right? Like maybe you can do some crazy shit there. But regardless, the Cowboys end up making their move up, and they drafted Walter Nolan in the first. And here, because I'm actually seeing right now, and we have a little bit of a threat nugget right here with a bunch of teams that honestly I think would be pretty happy going after Tyler Booker. Tyler Booker is fantastic. I don't know what's up with PFF and their grading system, man. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, look at this. He has an 86 pass blocking grade, a 66 run, but all of a sudden the dude can't get over 66 in damn near any game. Like, what? But regardless, Tyler Booker's fantastic. He's going to be just such a valuable addition, because I do think Zach Martin, with that season-ending ankle injury, it might be time for the hang up the cleats. So there we go. Tyler Booker to the Cowboys, going big, beefy SEC boys on both sides of the line. At number 40 for the Minnesota Vikings, I think that you guys are in the position to go after guard, corner, or defensive interior. And we ended up getting, we have some good picks here, 94 and 97. I love that for us. Deion Walker is intriguing at this point, but I do think that TJ Sanders is better. TJ Sanders is also 60 pounds lighter, so let's keep that in mind. Alfred Collins in the equation. Derek Harmon. I really like Derek Harmon. Honestly, I think Derek Harmon's the pick at this point. Trying to think if I have anybody above him at the moment that's available, and I don't see it. So we're going to go after Derek Harmon, defensive interior out of Oregon, because we can get some good offensive line value there at those 97 and 94 picks, and probably a good corner as well, for that matter. At number 41, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Went after Nick Scorton there in the first. Kind of feel a little bad because we could have gone after Princely Umanmielen here in the second. But regardless, this team definitely needs to just continue pounding not pounding the rock, but like pretty much destroying teams on defense, and they haven't been doing that this year at all. It's the AFC North, man. You cannot have a weak defense. And so we need to go after the best player available. The best player available is Nick Eamon-Warry. Nick Eamon-Warry, where is he at on my board? He's at number 20. He was my safety one coming into the year. Granted, he had a different role entirely than Malachi Starks, and I love Malachi Starks. I love both these guys. They're fantastic players. And so you can't really say which one is above the other one. They're completely different styles. But 6'3", 227, Geno Stone's been an ass. And so we're going to be getting the best player on the board. Again, 6'3", 227, this guy will run a 4.3. And he has ball skills. Like, Xavier Watts is awesome because he's not necessarily the biggest athlete, best built player, but he has a nose for the football. Nick Eamon-Warry does as well. And he has the size and the athleticism. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me. New England Patriots back on the board at 42. This is just a no-brainer for me as well. I'm looking at Princely Umanmielen here. And even if you bring back my boy Matt Judon, you still need to address the edge core. I still think you can get more beyond Keion White that I think. I mean, it's not like you guys are ass. Again, you guys are doing far better than what I expected. At number 4 overall, I mean, your team is a number 1 overall pick-worthy team because poor Drake needs to have a lot more going his way, and somehow you guys still find a way to be more competitive than some other teams that I think have a more competitive roster. But that aside, you guys are doing a fantastic job. But you have T. Higgins. You have Josh Simmons. You also now have Omari and Hampton. We've addressed the offensive side. Let's go to the defense. And if you were to go outside of edge, I would probably look in the corner room, and that corner that I would be looking for, and why can't you add him in here? Davidson Igbinosun would be fun, but I don't really think he fits the same way that Jermari Harris or DJ McKinney does. So I got hiccups. Hello. I'm going to not go after corner because at 68, I do think with all these quality corners available, you don't have that same pressing issue the way, especially with the value that's available, the way that you could if you get Princey Umanmielen into the squad. And he's a very, very well built. He has those quick wins that are just dropping. I mean, again, over 20% pass rush win rate. I mean, he is a really good player. Where's he on my board? And again, take in mind that these are not all updated, but Princely is at number 81 overall on my board, and I think that's perfectly reasonable based on the fact that I don't like his get off, but outside of that, he's been doing a phenomenal job. So here at number 43 with the Chicago Bears, a lot of interesting options that you could have here, including trading out. Now, I'm looking right now at the Miami Dolphins. Probably going to be in a good position to be able to draft a defensive interior player. And this defensive interior class, I've mentioned it, a lot of good players, but not many that have certain potentials the way that you talk about Deon Walker, who could be a big nose. You also talk about TJ Sanders in that mix. And I'm also talking about the 49ers here that could be looking for defensive interior or edge help. So looking at teams that could definitely use that help, I'm looking primarily at the Carolina Panthers, who have traded already with the Bears in the past, maybe got fleeced by the Bears in the past, but I don't think will be fleeced again. They ended up, fleeced by the Bears in the aspect where you look at, what ended up being the outcome of said trades. But I do think that luckily Bryce Young is proving to make it not the worst trade in history, which is awesome because I love Bryce Young. He's my QB1 as well as many other people. But I think that the Panthers are in a position after drafting Abdul Carter to where they kind of are siloed in this aspect where they kind of need to focus on either getting a safety, a corner, or a defensive interior. And I think getting that defensive interior that could be a big difference maker might be what could set them apart. And if you do wait, you do run the risk of potentially missing out on certain other players. But, TJ Sanders to me, pairing him up, and I mean, again, I'm looking at the Niners here as a heavy candidate for this, for that selection. Like, I think that is something that the Carolina Panthers need. You pair him up there with, you guys love South Carolina defenders as it is. So like, don't get it twisted, right? But I think this would be a pretty fair trade if it's like, relatively at a discount, because I don't think Chicago has too many bidders to move up, given that the respective range. But I think giving the Bears pick 114, giving them back respectively a 4th round pick that you got for free. I mean, you should never have gotten this for Jonathan Mingo. I think will be perfectly reasonable. So the Bears might have traded this at a discount, but I also think the Bears are in a position that I don't think is one of a lot of leverage. And so TJ Sanders is going to go to the Carolina Panthers here. Imagine that defensive line, right? Derek Brown, TJ Sanders, as well as Abdul Carter. Now, do I think that, Kyle Kennard, Mason Graham, and Derek Brown would have been more scary? Potentially. But TJ Sanders is a fantastic defensive interior and far from a bad consolation prize for a free 4th round pick. At number 44 for the Miami Dolphins, again, talked about defensive interior for them. TJ Sanders would have been high up on that list. And I actually might end up waiting for them. Deon Walker has slipped down in terms of what I think of him. But I think for certain teams that are looking for a pure nose, it would be a good idea. Omar Norman-Lott is going to show out at the Senior Bowl, and I'm excited to see him do so. The dude just has so few snaps that it's tough to really give him the respect that, we kind of want to give him. For that, I'm going to be going after offensive line. And I'm going to go Donovan Jackson as a guard, but he also does have the ability to moonlight a tackle if need be. And having that potential is ridiculous. We're just talking about, fuck this statistic if I'm just going to be 100% with you. The only reason it's there is because he had a struggle game. The first game he ever played at left tackle, the dude ends up playing Abdul Carter. Straight up, people trying to knock him for that. Just don't do that to yourself. Donovan Jackson, to me, is one of the best players in the class. I was debating why I had him at 16 because this is a preseason evaluation grade at 77, which is technically 79, but I knocked guards by 2, hence why I don't have a bunch of guards at the top. But, Donovan Jackson, and after watching him versus Ty Robinson, just blew my mind away. So I really do think that Donovan Jackson could be an excellent addition there for the Dolphins, both as a guard and as a tackle when you pair him up there with Malachi Starks. At number 45 for the Tennessee Titans, still looking at that right tackle spot, thought Donovan Jackson would be the right answer. And, I mean, you could end up going after a tackle here and then ending up kicking J.C. Latham back to right tackle where he's native and getting someone like Jack Nelson. But I think someone who's taken a massive step up this year is Armand Membu. And I have him listed as a guard, but that was based off of last year's play. This year he has taken a bigger step up and has become far more polished. And he might end up still having to kick into guard, which, because you ended up trading back, getting a free third-round pick, I think would be worth the risk. But, you can feel comfortable taking J.C. Latham at 5. Was it 5? Might have been 7. But in the top 10 last year, by having him be your true left tackle and then getting Armand Membu here, who I do think is going to easily be a second-round pick for me. But, he does come with those questions, but I do think he's going to be a massive asset nonetheless. At pick number 46 for the San Francisco 49ers, drafted a right tackle in the last round with Cam Williams. They need to go after defensive interior or edge rusher, and I think the edges on the board are fantastic value. You can't go wrong with any of them. I do think they like the size at edge rushers to where I think they'll be excited for a 6'6", 290-pound edge rusher here in Shamar Stewart, who's a ridiculous athlete. Don't overthink it too much. I think it's worth the risk. Number 47 for the Indianapolis Colts. I always go safety for them, but I think that it's not a massive issue at edge rusher. Let me make myself very clear there. But I also believe that you guys are in a position where if the value is right, you don't ignore it. And you have great edge rushers here like Kennard, Zirwaku, Mike Green, and then God damn, that was crazy. But I'm completely unedited. I can almost guarantee you I'm going to forget to edit that out. But regardless, we got Tyler Barron here, who has been fantastic. He's 6'5", 260 pounds, polished, a little bit on the older side, but he reminds me a lot of what you guys liked last year with Leatu Latu, just at a discount. And Kamen Rucker, technically, I think is, he could be the better edge rusher. I think Kamen Rucker's fantastic. Can't go wrong here. But I think it is, it's time to throw a little bit of a curveball. I haven't done this yet for you guys in a hot minute, at least. But, I think going after edge rushers proper and then going after an edge rusher that has some size to him, 260 plus, like Rucker or Barron, is going to be a path to success. And Barron was really good there at Tennessee, bounced around a little bit from Ole Miss to Louisville to then finally Miami. But I think that it's time to start giving him some respect, and I'm perfectly happy doing that. At number 48 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're in an interesting situation. I also see Caleb Johnson's on the board. I think he should be going somewhat soon, but again, not to this team. But you drafted an edge in the first round. I think wide receiver's a sneaky one in the second because you have 1 year left with Mike Evans. And I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it is 1 year left with Mike. And Io Maynor would be a fantastic addition at this point. You got some great receivers, but I think Io Maynor, with the way he's produced with Stanford, has been fantastic. Again, you got to look at it through the lens of this dude is playing for Stanford of all teams. So I do think that, his big playability is going to be super key for this team in the long run. Obviously, the health has been a big concern, that receiving room. So I'm going to go after Io Maynor here because it is the best player available. At 49 for the Bears, we've already gone after offensive linemen. We've already gone after defensive interior with Caleb Banks. So at this point, I think we could look at someone to be that center for us, or we can end up even looking at a wide receiver. And Jalen Royals, I'm just going to be 100% honest. This dude's an absolute beast. He had an ankle injury that took him out this year, and that's why, he only played 7 games, but in those, he was averaging over 100 yards a game. This guy, after the catch, is unbelievably dominant, and he's going to be there for the Senior Bowl, so he should be healthy by then. This guy is one of the most dynamic receivers, and honestly, I'm kind of tired of the same narrative of us taking offensive line a billion times when I know I can get a center there at 75. I don't think I can get a Jalen Royals, so we're going to go with that for the Bears. So you got defensive line, offensive line, and a receiver. At number 50 for the Arizona Cardinals, Let's get after an edge rusher. We ended up missing out on Jalen Walker before, but we ended up getting an unbelievable hand here in the second round. Mike Green is sexy. It is what it is, but I think Donovan Ezeuruwaku would fit just a little bit better. Coming out of Boston College, this guy's been doing a fantastic job this year, just coming off a 12 pressure game, 3 times more than that. And, got to give him credit. Got to see him in person here at SMU. Wasn't overly wowed by him, but people really love him. And, statistically, outside of that SMU game, he's been doing a great job. And number 51 for the Falcons, traded back, got a free 3rd-round pick, and ended up, selecting a good edge rusher there in Michael Williams. I think this is a good opportunity to take a potential risk on a bust-worthy player, or a higher bust concern. There we go. If it makes sense, higher probability of bust in Deon Walker. But you guys are looking for a nose tackle. This guy has incredible flexibility at 345. It's just, he moves differently for a 345 pounder. And some people say he's even up there close to 6'8" and 360 pounds. Like he's he's listed less than what he actually is. And so I think that you guys are in that position where you could be looking for that nose tackle. And I know you guys agree with that because you guys have brought it up a couple of times. And I want to be able to throw it out there. Let's see what happens. Pick number 52 for the Seattle Seahawks. Already gone after interior offensive line. Sucks because Wyatt Milam's here, but it is what it is. When you get Will Campbell, can't really complain too much. I think this is a good position to trade back because we already traded up in the first round. Jedi Barron's here, though. I do think a boundary corner, too, could be really helpful to the squad. We do have Ben Morrison returning in this. I don't really think Barron is going to be at that zone coverage ability as valuable to this team as maybe someone who is a little bit more sticky in man coverage. And because of that, I actually am going to be going after Jermari Harris here, cornerback out of Iowa. He's my number 30 overall player. I'm going to scroll down so you guys get a clear look at that. So we're going to be using a placeholder because, once again, PFF doesn't have them. My number 30 overall player is going to be Jermari Harris out of Iowa. He is a ridiculously awesome corner, and he's actually said that he would be willing to come on the show, so we might be able to get him on in the next couple months. And number 53 for the Washington Commanders, we're going to be looking primarily at corner at this point. In the first round, we went edge with LT Overton. You could look at tackle as well, because honestly, with the value that's here, it's actually ridiculous. Josh Conerly is awesome, but I want to go after a true left tackle here in Jack Nelson. I don't trust Cornelius, period, but I'm forgetting the guy you drafted from TCU in the 3rd, Brandon Coleman. I don't fully trust him to be a consistent left tackle. I think he needs more time to develop, and I honestly think that he could end up being the future at right tackle if need be. But Jack Nelson, to me, is one of the most underrated prospects in this class. 6'7", 312, like a legitimate left tackle, and he's just a really, really solid player. I don't know why people don't love him to that degree, but I'm going to show him the love that he deserves. And number 54 for the Houston Texans, we went after defensive interior in the first round with Tyleik Williams. That's because we get Wyatt Milam here in the second. Let's not overthink that one bit. At 55 for the Denver Broncos, went after receiver in the first, and I think that we do have the risk of losing out on our left tackle, Garrett Bowles, to free agency. So I'm going to be going after Josh Conerly here, who, funnily enough, guess who we played left tackle for? Bo Nix. And he got even better this year. This guy is a really, real quality player. I can end up seeing Josh Conerly because I am evaluating tackles and defensive interiors right now. So those videos should be out within 1 to 2 weeks. I can see Josh Conerly ending up being a top 20 player on my board. Just like the high-level plays are that ridiculous. But at pick number 56 for the Baltimore Ravens, could look at Jedi Barron here. I just, again, don't really think that's going to be the move. I really like him, and I want him to go places, but this might not be the spot. I do kind of want to be able to move out of this spot as well. I have DJ McKinney on the board as well as a plethora of other players. Jedi Barron as well. I think Jedi Barron's going to be a hot commodity at this point, and you could look at a team like the Bills that's looking for a quality defensive back. They might really want him. To be fair, I took corners for a lot of the teams that need corners. Like, a lot of the teams that need corners. The Steelers took corner. We got the Packers that took corner. We got the Chiefs that took a corner. Like, we kind of have depleted. We took it for the Jaguars as well. Like, we've depleted the teams that really need corner. And for the Giants, like, may I mind you, like, not many teams that are looking for a corner. Probably the next two are going to be here at 68 and 69 respectively. So I would say corner doesn't really move the needle for me in terms of moving up with a team. Offensive tackle wise, I don't really see it. I think this team actually might be the one that would be looking to be able to address that offensive lineman position. And I'm primarily looking right now at Jonas Savania because he's so flexible as an offensive lineman. He's playing left tackle right now as well, and he's actually not been doing a bad job. I'm just going to give him some credit there. He's had some respective struggles, but I actually like him arguably as a left tackle as much as he is a right tackle. And so with that flexibility, also being able to play a guard role, I think actually the Ravens should just play Moneyball and just get a really good player here. So I think we have tackle going. Technically, 4 guys who are playing left tackle right now went back to back to back to back, but obviously all playing different roles. Not all of them, because Jack Nelson, Josh Connolly will be playing the same, and probably Savania and Milam, but you guys get what I'm saying. At 57, we got the Chargers, and Harold Vanden's on the board. Kind of hard for me to say no at this point. They ended up going after Isaiah Bond in the first. Why not just go overboard and get one of the most dynamic receivers after the catch here in Harold Fannin Jr. At number 58 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, wide receiver is the easy position for you to go after we looked at, well, I mean, you could look at quarterback here with Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, it's not a bad pick, but I do think that with the wide receivers available, it would be kind of foolish for us not to at least consider them. And this team values special teams a ton. And Ricky White literally has 4 punt blocks on the year on top of over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. And this guy is just super dynamic. I have him comped to mini Marvin Harrison. So at 58, I'm going to take it. And number 59 for the Green Bay Packers. Sucks to see Caleb Johnson still on the board because he's a really, really, really good back. But the Packers are not one that I'd be really considering that for. I think Jeff Hafley would absolutely love Mike Green or Kyle Kennard at this point. Very reminiscent of Donovan Azurewaku, who he ended up coaching at Boston College. And so I think Mike Green has been a little bit more healthy than Kyle. And he obviously has been fantastic this year. So, I mean, look at that. I think he should return to school. I mean, I didn't realize he was a redshirt sophomore. Return to school and be a first-round pick, bud. Just going to be 100 with you. But we're going to let Mike Green go to the Packers here at 59. And number 60 for the Bills, we took JT Tuimoloau in the first. Here in the second, I just want to use Jedi Barron as just a flexible defensive piece. That might be worth it to me to take him. I know it's just you guys don't need corner. Let's be real. You guys do not need a corner. But I do think that it wouldn't be a bad move. Besides that, defensive interior, I don't think it would be a bad move to go after Alfred Collins at this point. Omar Norman-Lott as well. Alfred Collins is just not super athletic, but he's a very good defensive interior. He's a good block shedder as well. Might be the move, because especially for the Eagles, who could consider Alfred Collins technically, I think that, you might want to play Moneyball here. Same thing with the Chiefs as well. So let's go after Alfred Collins for the Bills. Beef up that defensive line. Pick number 61 for the Philadelphia Eagles. We traded up and selected a tight end in the first round. And here in the second, I think that it's perfectly reasonable to go after Kamen Rucker or Kyle Kennard. The question is, which one would I trust more in coverage? I think I'd probably trust Kamen Rucker just based off of his role. I'm trying to remember how many snaps he's taken actually in coverage, but he's definitely somebody that I really do like overall. He just hasn't been super healthy this year, and so I'm going to give him the love he deserves. We're going to go Kamen Rucker here out of North Carolina. At number 62 for the Buffalo Bills, we've fully revamped their defensive line, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to trade back. And I'm seeing Caleb Johnson here, Quinshon Judkins, Jedi Barron. I just want one of them to go. And I could see a couple teams in here, the Raiders, for example, even the Chiefs, for that matter, which are just right ahead, looking at a running back like Caleb Johnson, who's a true junior who just declared for the class, and being very excited. This guy looks good with a black primary color as it is. So I think that the Raiders need to check their ego and move up for him. And so we're going to be doing that. We're going to check the ego. We're also going to flip off one of our in-division rivals in the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to make a small move up. This is only going to require maybe pick 138. Maybe. I'm going to do pick 176. I really don't think it would be much. I don't think the Bills would mind that either. I know that you technically are getting air quotes fleeced in this deal, but it's just such a short range trade, and you also get to screw over a team that you face every single year in pretty much the AFC Championship. Caleb Johnson's going to be the selection there. So we have, for the Raiders, Shedeur Sanders, Jahad Campbell, and Caleb Johnson. 3 guys who I think could definitely change the culture there for Las Vegas. At number 63 for the Chiefs, it would have been probably my pick with Caleb Johnson. They went after Azariah Thomas in the first. You could look to develop an offensive lineman at this point. I just don't really see that as very beneficial. Go to free agency, get someone like Garrett Bowles. Don't overthink it too much. Tight end's not worth it to me. Wide receiver, though, I mean, at this rate, now you could really consider it. And you don't really have an I'm just going to throw it up to him, contested catch kind of guy. And that's what Jaden Higgins is. I think this guy's fantastic. His quarterback, Rocco Brecht, has been just consistently throwing turnover-worthy plays, so I wouldn't pay too close of attention to his contested catch percentage. And even with that, 47% is freaking awesome. So I'm actually going to go after Jaden Higgins here out of Iowa State. Big guy, 6'4", 215. He's my number one receiver coming into the year. Probably will end up being that when all is said and done as well. But, I have a thing for bigger receivers. Pick number 64 for the Detroit Lions. We ended up trading back and still getting Jack Sawyer. Of course, we're going to do the boring-ass pick, which is going after Tate Ratledge here. You guys know that's just kind of my pick there for the Lions. You guys brought up one of you brought up a really good idea, which I'm going to exercise in the offseason, where I literally cannot take, maybe outside of the top 5, I cannot take the same player for the team that I took in the previous mock draft. I think that's really cool. A really cool idea. So we're going to exercise that, especially for you guys who are Lions fans who are tired of the edge guard pick, but we'll see when that time comes. At number 65 for the Jaguars, I mean, the value here for Jedi Barron is ridiculous. I think at this point, we need to either have teams trading up for him, or else he can just be someone who's an extremely flexible piece there that you pair up with, you already have a couple of corners that are really solid, and then you also have a slot that I think has a very bright future there in Jerry and Jones, but I don't like seeing Jedi Barron slip. Regardless of that, let's go interior offensive line, because I still think there's some good value here, especially even with the tackle group, having someone like Marcus Bowe, who's a friend of the show as well, being a very quality, he's a right tackle right now, but I think he's going to be a very high-level guard prospect. Marcus Bowe is going to be my selection here. Just a real quality player with great hand technique, solid athleticism, really good. He's really good mobility, but also really good strength as well. So I really do like that about him. Where's he at on my board? Because I ended up dropping him a little bit because of he's at number 65 or 64, excuse me. So 65 is perfectly reasonable for him. Again, some of these guys have not been fully reevaluated yet. Keep that in mind. Number 66 for the Bills. At this point, fuck it. Let's go Jedi Barron. Let's just place him somewhere on this team. I know, to be fair, Ty Felton's still available. I just use that. I pick that every single time, but I don't think they'll go 3 defensive picks back to back to back. We'll go Ty Felton. He ended up having 3 drops in that final game there, but I believe he's going to be going to the Senior Bowl. So I think he's going to rewrite everything because he's such a smooth route runner and very dominant. So we're going to go after Ty Felton. At number 67 for the New York Giants, went corner, went quarterback. Not too crazy, but I do think this team should be looking for a developmental offensive tackle. I also think another bigger receiver like Trey Harris would not be a bad addition. Just big, physical, deep threat that you can take some attention off on the boundary. You're just going to be giving yourself more and more to love, but I do think Xavier Restrepo wouldn't be a bad option because he's going to be cutting it up. The problem is you kind of already have the role for Restrepo kind of locked up, so you don't really need to cater to Cam Ward that much. We won't cater to him. We're going to go Trey Harris here out of Ole Miss. At number 68 for the New England Patriots, we've gone after edge rusher with Princey Umamiela. We've gone after wide receiver technically with T. Higgins, tackle with Josh Simmons, as well as running back with Omarion Hampton. I think at this point, it's almost a disservice to pass on Jedi Barron. But I got to say, we did already take Jamari Harris. I'm trying to remember to whom, to number 52 here with the Seahawks. I will say, I think there's somebody that's better than Jedi Barron, that for the Patriots especially, and that's DJ McKinney out of Colorado. DJ McKinney is just such a fantastic corner, a freak athlete as well. You got Davison Igbinosun, who's on the board too. We need to get off, but we're going to use Fentrell Cypress. You guys know how much I love using Tony Grimes and Fentrell Cypress as the placeholders, but my number 32 player in the draft, DJ McKinney. Ridiculous high-end athlete. Let Christian Gonzalez polish him up, but that dude he has potential to be better. I'm just going to say it right now, potential to be better than the other corner on his team in Travis Hunter. Just ridiculous kind of athlete. It's kind of freaky. He is a freaky player, but I just don't think he gets the respect he deserves. At number 69 for the Panthers, let's not fuck around. We've already gone edge and defense interior. Let's keep working it. Let's go Jedi Barron here. I mean, at this point, you got to be able to take best player available. This dude's an absolute stud, so I'm not going to have too many issues taking best player available. At number 70 for the Las Vegas Raiders, we traded up. We got ourselves our star running back. We have our star quarterback. And then we also have a leader of the defense at the linebacker position. So I think we're doing pretty damn well. Now, outside of that, I do hear some cries for interior offensive line. And there's some good players here. I actually think Parker Brailsford's very underrated. But looking at the offensive lineman, I think Emory Jones, who's a former tackle, well, he is a current tackle, but he's just had his struggles this year. I mean, you see it. He had a 9-pressure game. I think he's going to be a real quality interior offensive lineman. Like, he does get a little bit too much shit. And, you know, as a guard, I really do have some faith in him. Where do I have him as a guard, by the way? I mean, again, his grade's updated. So this is, like, reflecting of where I actually think of him. He's at 88 on my board. So I think that he's going to be definitely worth this range. Use him as a right guard, left guard if you want, and then just allow him to prove that he's still such a quality offensive lineman. He was number 1 for a lot of people coming into the year. Like, number 1. And that's fantastic. At number 71 for the Chiefs, another player that I would have loved for the Chiefs potentially to replace Trey Smith. But regardless of that, you still could be looking at someone to replace Trey Smith here. You got Gray Zabel, for example. Anthony Belton would be intriguing, at least. But you also have Jaden Roberts here. And I think Jaden Roberts is too good to pass on. This dude's just had some issues this year fully acclimating. And, you know, he's somebody who is like literally people say he's the strongest guy there at Alabama in the locker room. And that's somebody that you can't let slip past the 3rd round. So we're going to be taking Jaden Roberts there for the Chiefs. So the Chiefs end up getting Jaden Higgins. They end up getting Azariah Thomas. And they end up getting Jaden Roberts. So literally all 3 kind of like my guys. And I think all 3 of them are in my top 32 as well, which is kind of funny. Technically, that's a lie. Top 33. So you got my number 33, technically currently 31. Again, a star means they're probably going to drop and they haven't been updated. And then also my number 9 player. So Chiefs ended up winning out in this one. And number 72 for the Cleveland Browns. We've gone after quarterback. We've gone after running back. Are there any more tackles that I trust? Blake Miller's in here, but I just don't. Let's not fuck around too much. Probably try to like get somebody of value in free agency if you can. I just don't trust, like, we got interior offensive line, potential interior offensive line because he's like 300, and then like a solid right tackle, but I don't think Jack Conklin's going to go anywhere anytime soon, and you technically could use him, and I've done it before, but I do think you could just continue upgrading the receiving core. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's effect on this offense is similar to what Xavier Restrepo could bring. Now, you probably want someone who's a little bit of a bigger body, but go in like the 4th or 5th round to get Pat Bryant. Like, that's just the way that I would go about doing this. We're going to go Xavier Restrepo here, who's going to be tearing it up at the Senior Bowl. At number 73 for the Cincinnati Bengals, we've gone after edge rusher as well as safety. I mean, you guys have done a fantastic job this draft being able to get great value there. And so I think the next position, you could try to look at offensive line again. And Parker Brailsford's here, and I really like Parker. But Gray Zabel, like, this guy is kind of built to be in the AFC North. All the, like, these freaking North and South Dakota dudes, we're talking about obviously what the Steelers did, they're built to be in the NFL, and especially the AFC North. And being able to get someone who has left tackle experience, who is probably destined to be interior offensive line, that flexibility is going to be extremely valuable when you guys are trying to make another playoff push. At number 74 for the New Orleans Saints, we ended up moving up and spending those picks to be able to, we still have 2/3, by the way, to get Mason Graham. I think that we still could be able to land a quality edge here. And like, I mean, look at this shit. You get Kyle Kennard at this point, Josiah Stewart even. You got Ashton Gillette or Galote. Don't come at me for that. We're going to go Kyle Kennard here. We're just going best player available. For the Bears at 75, would have loved Kyle Kennard, but so far, we have already addressed a multitude of positions. We've addressed wide receiver, offensive line, as well as defensive interior with Caleb Banks. So I think you're in a good spot. I still think Parker Brailsford would be a good choice. I mean, he's a really good he's a really good center. But you also could even dark horse go after Quinshon Judkins here, who's a quality running back who's just taken a bit of a hit in terms of recently yards per carry. He didn't do too bad in the pass game, but, he was honestly one of the few guys who did well for Ohio State on offense. But it's just not really a big year for him. I could easily see him returning. The problem is the carries are stacking up. And even if he's a true junior, like the carries are stacking up. The Bears could certainly use that type of consistency, though. I would not count it out. But I also do want to mention the fact that you could go after another offensive lineman here, like Charles Grant, who's super flexible, and try to work it with him, or Parker Brailsford, who I personally really, really like. He's up to 290 pounds. He probably will end up going back to school, I would assume. But, I mean, dude, he's such a good player. Like, he is such a good player. I'm going to stand on business, man. Coming into the year, he's my number 47 player. Technically higher than that, but again, I adjusted it for guard value. He's a top 50 player on my board, and the Bears could use a guard, center, tackle, respectively, and then we got defensive interior as well as wide receiver. At number 76 for the Washington Commanders, we've already gone after, what did we do? First round LT Overton. The past round we did Jack Nelson. So address the lines on both. Cornerback wise, man, I mean, Max Harrison's pretty interesting here. I might want to be able to go after that. You could go after Tacario Davis here and get someone who's super flexible. Jacob Parrish is a monster, but he's just sub 6 foot. Like, there are some concerns here. Ben Morrison considered returning in this for those of y'all who are asking. I do think based on the quality or the style of corner that you have been drafting, Max Harrison fits your persona of a athletic man, athletic man coverage corner. He does lack in that physicality area, but it's kind of fluctuated from year to year. At number 77 for the Dallas Cowboys, we've already gone after defensive interior as well as interior offensive line. So we've kind of addressed both of those positions. We can now look at wide receiver, and there's still a lot of very, very good players in this group. Like, a lot of very good players. And someone who I really love is Ja'Cory Brooks. He does have a little bit of a high drop rate. Of course, his quarterback, for some reason, will either be extremely hit or miss in terms of the amount of balls that he gets thrown his way. But Ja'Cory Brooks is someone who literally can take over a game and challenges the top end of the cornerbacks. I don't know why he's ranked 278. Like, it blows my mind. He's number 38 for me. He just has high drops. Outside of that, this dude has a solid release package. He burns downfield, and he actually is a really good route runner for the specific route tree that he's going for. He's 6'3" as well, 195 pounds. I don't know why he doesn't get the respect he deserves, but again, we're all entitled to our own opinions. At number 78, by the way, yes, Jonah Coleman is returning. Again, I haven't fully updated this list because I'm more so focusing on actually getting the actual evaluations out. But at number 78 for the Niners, Quinshon's still available, which is kind of ridiculous. Could have done that for the Cowboys as well, but so many running backs in this class. And again, Quinshon, someone I've taken from a billion times, dude. If you can end up landing RJ Harvey, I'm not going to complain. Like, I don't think that the Cowboys, when you can get Ja'Cory Brooks, the value drop from Quinshon to RJ, I don't know if that's going to be the same as Ja'Cory to the next wide receiver that's a deep threat. But regardless, for the Niners, they could use a corner 3, and you have some really good ones on the board. I also think that Tacario could be super flexible in terms of his overall understanding of the game, and it might just be worth rolling the dice on him. But Davis Igbinosun at this point, people talk about his physicality as like a detriment. I love him to death. I mean, I think he'll slip just for that reason. But, versus Penn State, he ended up having a 90 coverage grade. And, I've seen it with him. I really love him. He is right now 21 on my board. And so I think that the Niners are going to snipe him. They got offensive line, they got defensive line, and now they're going to get a top tier corner. Double checking that I did that with the Niners because I'm pretty sure Shamar Stewart was the pick, and he was. At number 79 for the Colts, we ended up going after, we actually went after edge as well as tight end. And so at this point, I could look at corner as well. Some good corners still available. But actually, what I love is using Tacario Davis either as a corner or a safety. Like, the open-endedness of that pick is worth it, in my opinion, because he's high zone instincts, someone who's going to be very smart, good ball skills as well. If you want to use him as a safety, use him. If you want to use him as a corner, use him. Just put him in the best spot, and I think the Colts are a great spot for him to do that. At 80 for the Buccaneers, what did we do in the second round? Did we go corner for him? We went Eli Manor. Nice. We've gone after edge and receiver. I think going after another defensive back is not a bad idea. I'd want to get somebody who's a little bit more aggressive, who has some chemistry with a guy on a team, and that's Dalen Everett here. He just doesn't have very good ball skills. That's his issue. It's like forcing completions. But in terms of coverage, this guy is pretty damn locked down. And so I'm going to be giving him the love he deserves and pairing him back up with Tyke Smith. At 81 for the Los Angeles Rams, you guys have now drafted a left tackle. We ended up actually moving up to do so. And I think that you guys are in a good position right now. You could even trade back if you wanted to, but I do think that you still should be looking at corner. Emmanuel Forbes is not going to stop me from going after another cornerback. And Noel Williams is the exciting one for me because, I mean, when used properly, this dude is very, very good. It's a big asterisk is like when he gets used properly. Jabbar Muhammad's extremely underrated. Like, you just can't really go wrong at this point. Denzel Burke as well. Like, a lot of very good players here, Jacob Parrish included. Like, you just really can't go wrong. Like, to me, you really can't. Chandler Rivers, I'm forgetting how tall he is. Damn, he's also 5'8". Shit. 5'10". Like, Jacob Parrish is also like 5'10" range, but I love both of those guys. I really do. Quincy Riley, though, I feel like the Rams could use a lack of speed a little bit better, and he's more of an athlete than anything. You know what? I think that the Rams are going to be in a good position to trade back here. Like, just a lot of good players, but just not really for the Rams. And I want Quinshon to go. I do. And I could see some team. I need to have some teams draft this dude. I'm looking at a couple teams here that might want him. Like, I could technically see that right here. The Texans want him. The Broncos. You could also look even at the Chargers. Like, they're coming up. Well, I think because of that, we could end up ignoring it for the time being. Regardless of that, you know what? Let's just address the position. Let's do it. Let's not try to get cute here. I'm gonna go actually after Denzel Burke because he was supposed to be a first-round pick. That Oregon game kind of exposed where he's weak, but just because he doesn't have the best acceleration, I think he's been exposed by having a poor defensive coordinator, and now the Rams can end up actually just utilizing him properly. At 82 for the Arizona Cardinals, we've taken edge as well as defensive interior. And stealing it, if I may say, Donovan Zirawaku as well as Kenneth Grant is kind of hard to get that good of value there. I think offensive line is going to be super key for this team. Getting someone who could be flexible as well. I actually really like Charles Grant here. Charles Grant, he is 300 pounds at 6'4". That's the big issue. But this dude is extremely athletic. It almost is like clearance version of Terran Armstead kind of vibes. So I think that at 82, being able to get a project player like that, not a bad idea, especially with a mobile quarterback like Kyler Murray. So we're going to draft him there. At number 83 for the New England Patriots, do we just go Quinshon? Just go like a 3 running back attack? That'd be insane, but no. We've already gone after technically receiver. We could even go after another one at this point. Like, we could go after Kyron Lacy and then, have him pair up with the multitude of other talents that we have at receiver now with T. Higgins, Pop Douglas. That actually might be the move I go with. I actually kind of like that. Let's go after Kyron Lacy here. Just completely go overboard on the receiving room. At number 84 for the Indianapolis Colts, we've gone after a flexible defensive back in Decario Davis. We've gone after an edge rusher. We've gone after a tight end as well. Not really too many other positions I think are massively in need of being addressed. I could honestly get a relief back as well, though, with Quinshon Judkins here for you guys. But you could get a true actual boundary corner here. You could go for someone in the slot as well. I think Quincy Riley might be worth rolling the dice on and just allowing Decario to just be a safety. Like, that just might end up working out the best in your favor. Quincy Riley has that athleticism and has that physicality you're looking for. People love Mansour Delane. I just cannot. I want to so badly. I just cannot. Zy Alexander, he's kind of very similar to Decario Davis, where I think he should be a defensive back, not actually a corner. So it's an interesting situation to be in, but I think with the state of the Colts right now, you could honestly look at Garrett Nussmeier to be a backup QB. I just think that would cause too many hiccups in the locker room to where I actually kind of want to just trade out of here, because I do think teams should be looking for that backup quarterback at this point. And especially a team like the Dolphins. Like, the Dolphins, I know that would cause some shit, but if you can land a Garrett Nussmeier to be an understudy to Tua, I don't think you could lose out on that. I don't. And I could see a team right here in the Saints like being very hungry for a quarterback. And so if you could deprive them of one of their options and just pretty much give them like Quinn Ewers or something, that'd be pretty awesome. At the same time, though, I don't think I think that with the bidding market, the Steelers are going to try to trade up. Actually, that's a good idea, though, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now it's like we can end up affording that. And for this pick jump, I think it's 153. That'd be worth it. Maybe you end up getting something in return. But we've already addressed corner. We've already addressed, did we go wide receiver? I'm trying to remember. Wide receiver as well. Let's go and let's fix the most valuable position on our team, and that's going to be quarterback with Garrett Nussmeier. That kind of breaks my heart for the Saints. You know, again, we've already addressed edge or defensive interior. We ended up addressing edge rusher. We've gotten great value. So, like it's not all, like, lost. And I do think at this point, like, you can go after Quinn Ewers and develop him. I think that's worth it. I honestly think Quinn Ewers should transfer. Like, let's be for real. But, you know, Quinn at this point probably would be about like a late third round pick. So we could try to trade back as well with New Orleans since we traded up. I don't see too many more teams looking for a quarterback outside of maybe the Dolphins. And so with that being said, we have Quinshon Judkins on the board. I think a team needs to move up for him. And I think someone that is going to be, funnily enough, the enemy of Ohio State is going to be the one to do it. So I'll toss in like pick 160. Let's just like say that maybe there's an actual small bidding war there. Like, you know, you guys can disagree with it all you want. Maybe you could pick 178. Who gives a shit? It's not going to affect the mock draft. We're going to have the Chargers trade up and land Quinshon Judkins. And number 86 for the Houston Texans. We've gone after guard as well as defensive interior. Let's go after a defensive back at this point because so many good ones are on the board. Let's go after a rangy guy with ball skills here, and Xavier Waz to create pretty much a no-fly zone with Kalen Bullock. At number 87 for the Denver Broncos, I think a quality running back would be great. We've drafted left tackle and wide receiver, and you know, you got Taj Brooks here. Jonah Coleman returned to school. But I'm actually looking at RJ Harvey, who, to be fair, he has a lot of miles taken off of him, and he's a redshirt senior. I do think he deserves some respect. Same thing with Trevor Etienne. Probably will be going back to school or transferring just because he's not getting very much in terms of love. Taj Brooks, trying to remember how many carries this guy's gotten. Is he a true junior? He's a redshirt senior. Oh, shit. I didn't realize he actually was like a redshirt senior. But I'm looking for a guy who can be a massive asset on this team. Oh, Dylan Sampson's a freaking monster. I don't know if he's going to be coming out or not. But Dylan Sampson's a beast. He's a home run hitter for sure. He's one of the main reasons Tennessee has been very consistent this year. At 88 for the Tennessee Titans, we've gone after wide receiver with T-Mac. We have also gone, I believe, after offensive lineman there with Armand Membu. So at this point, you know, not many other positions I think I'm like overly enthused with. You could try to get Quinn Ewers to develop him and see how all that goes and, you know, see how that shakes down. But you're just going to cause drama at that point. Like, I don't really see the value in it. I think getting a third edge rusher is key. And Josiah Stewart's been fantastic this year. You could go Ashton Gillette at this point. Like, there's a lot of good players. Actually, my favorite one is Braden Swinson. Braden Swinson's an absolute baller. Gets no respect. I forget about him a lot too. But he's going to be someone who's going to be a quality edge rusher for us. Leaving the Saints to now land Quinn Ewers. You know, you ended up trading back multiple times. You got your defensive pieces, and now you get your star on the quarterback side because we do know Quinn does have that potential. It just hasn't really reached that potential yet. At number 90, Colts traded back, and we're still in the same exact position we were before. I'm going to go after Quincy Riley here most likely just because I love Quincy Riley. I think that the potential is still very, very much there, and I think he's been kind of misused by Louisville, and that will end up being the Colts' way to be able to snipe a very, very good player. For the Green Bay Packers, I think they're willing to roll the dice on someone like Omar Norman Lott. We've drafted corner. I believe we drafted edge in the second with Mike Green. And we're going to go all the way defense here with Omar Norman Lott. And number 92 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we drafted interior offensive line with Marcus Bowe. We've drafted wide receiver with Emeka Ibuka, and we drafted corner with Travis Hunter. Kind of a killer group there. I really do like how that ended up turning out. And so I think that this could be a spot where we get even potential safety help here with all the great defensive options available. But I also think at edge, you still have someone like Josiah Stewart, but I think Ashton Gillette, who's been fantastic this year with a great size, is going to be a third edge for you guys. And so I think that's going to be really valuable for you. At number 93 for the Falcons, we're going to go after linebacker here. All the linebackers are falling, but again, I mean, like, it's not a really good linebacker class. It's actually relatively to be expected. And I think Jack Kaiser is going to be that kind of guy. He's not super duper athletic, but he's somebody who's just very consistent, has been getting better as the season went on as well. He's someone who's still a top 32 player for me, so I'm going to show him the love he deserves. At number 94 for the Minnesota Vikings, look at all the running backs available for you, but do not fret. Do not fret. We ended up getting, what do we do? Defensive interior in the second round with Derek Harmon. We're going after guard here. And I said there was going to be a lot of guys available. Actually, there kind of still is. Like, I love Jake Slaughter. Like, really like him. But, I mean, also on the offensive tackle side, you have guys who can kick into guard like Anthony Belton. Anthony Belton's an absolute mover of people and a very, very good player nonetheless. I think that might be where I end up going. Because Anthony Belton, do not put some disrespect on this guy's name. This guy as a guard, because he's a very solid tackle, but as a guard, he can be an absolute people mover. So I'm going to roll the dice on him there. At number 95 for the Chiefs, we have gone after, what have we done for the Chiefs? Corner, guard, as well as wide receiver. So interesting spread of guys. We're going to go after edge here with Josiah Stewart to replace Josh Uche, funnily enough, also from Michigan. At 96 with the Detroit Lions, we've already gone after edge. We've gone after guard. Looking at the guys who are still available, I could go after like a safety here at Lathan Ransom just for best player available. But honestly, right tackle is still available. And so I think that we're going to have a team trade up to be able to select their right tackle, and that's the New York Giants. The New York Giants are in a great position to trade up here. I think this is going to require future draft capital more than anything. You guys can adjust that to whatever quantity you like, but Blake Miller's a very solid tackle, and he just doesn't get enough love. He's just not a very sexy offensive pick. At number 97, we're back with the Vikings. We got our guard. We got our defensive interior. Corner-wise, you have some really good players here, but I also trust you guys to snipe them down the board. Looking at running backs, though, when you can get Trey Henderson here at 97, just don't really overthink it. At number 98 for the Miami Dolphins, we've gone after safety as well. Did we go after defensive interior here? We went after offensive line with Donovan Jackson. Very interesting. So let's go after defensive interior finally. And some really good players on the board. Aeneas Peoples certainly there, but I'm actually going to look at CJ West here. CJ West has been fantastic. And, I actually have him graded higher than Ty Robinson, who is a name that's far higher mentioned, but 6'2", 317, moves well. I think that he sometimes stumbles into success, but outside of that, he's done a great job. At number 99, also for the Dolphins, I think this could be where you take a quarterback like Carson Beck, who's going to be a little bit higher floor, but just somebody that I think needs a shot in the NFL, and I think that you guys are a good spot for him to test that out. At number 100 for the Los Angeles Rams, another spot where I feel a quarterback should be going. Cade Klubnik, I think, should be returning to school. I really think this guy's a very good quarterback, but I do think that you look at Will Howard and he'll go above him. He's not going to make the special throws, but he's just someone who can make the solid throws. I don't know what the hell happened this past week, but I think in the playoffs, he's going to rebound back. At number 101 for the San Francisco 49ers, and ending off this mock draft, they're an interesting situation. Went after defensive line, went after offensive line, and I think I might go back to the defensive line. You got Dante Corleone here. You can't go wrong with that. But I'm looking at Aeneas Peoples and Shamar Turner right now. Both these guys are fantastic players. Aeneas Peoples is somebody who I think he's been feasting. He's not going to be this productive in the NFL, but at 290, he holds his ground really well. He gets good pressure quickly. I'm going to roll the dice with him. So we're going to give him the love he deserves. And that is going to be the video. I apparently earned a point. Yay. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side. Peace.